I'm Joseph.
And I'm Nick.
We watched episode 14 of Tyler Perry's Beauty in Black, now streaming on Netflix. This episode is called Wild Ride.
Mm-hmm.
So it's another episode of Lost in the Black because someone's trying to find someone the entire episode. Mainly Kimmie, looking for her sister, and everyone else looking for Kimmie.
Yes, the roads are all converging for Kimmie. The private roads are converging.
So it opens with Truxton and Brian Tanaka at the club.
Mm-hmm.
And Truxton shows up and Brian's like confused because he looks disheveled and is saying like, it was that bitch Kimmie and she wrecked my car. Where's her sister? We don't know. Well, what about Angel? Well, he says he doesn't know. Then we cut immediately to the hospital where Roy is.
Mm-hmm.
And that scene was a mess because, as we remember, if Roy is found out to be a drug addict, then he loses his shares in the inheritance.
But that means Mallory would also lose the shares.
Right. So in the previous episode, she seemed very preoccupied about making sure that no one finds out that her husband uses drugs.
Uh-huh.
But then in this episode, she tells the doctor straight away, like, yeah, Roy's addicted to opioids.
Uh-huh. Because Roy is demanding more drugs. And this white lady doctor, who has a bombshell secret of her own, I guess, is like, we've given you enough. Enough of what?
Yeah, what did you give him? He's not hooked up to anything.
Exactly. What is he taking? Vicodin?
But he's just being very difficult. And then it's the two of them arguing. Mallory says, well, because of HIPAA, she can't say anything. So she needs to know that you're addicted to opioids. They start arguing. He tells her to leave. She won't leave. But finally, she agrees to leave. So I'm not sure what her plan was. So you just aired him out as being a drug addict off the strength of HIPAA? Okay.
But isn't there a warm bath waiting for you at home?
So Mallory leaves and Roy says to the doctor, he asks her, do you hate your husband? And she goes, well, actually I have a wife. And Roy says, that's gross. Okay.
Uh-huh.
Not just because of his homophobic statement, but Roy is so dumb.
Mm-hmm.
He is so dumb, ignorant. Just how is he the CEO of at least a multi-million-dollar company?
Well, even stupid products of affluent families don't sound like this.
I just don't believe. There is no way that Roy has been able to operate in that role and not have already been sued 1 million times for sexual harassment, for like inappropriate conduct. He sounds dumb. He behaves stupidly.
Mm-hmm.
It's just so poorly written.
Yeah,
it's so poorly written.
So the lesbian doctor leaves, and then Jules meets Mallory in Stanley Hart's hospital
in the lobby.
And
for like how many seconds?
Yeah.
12 seconds.
And then he goes up to visit Roy, to which Roy, that's actually an even worse exchange because they're bartering. Roy is demanding that Jules bring Kimmie to him so that he can exact vengeance. And then he's like, no, I'm going to give it to Mallory. And then they're going back and forth to finally settle on like, okay, give Kimmie to me after Mallory's had her way with her.
Okay, there have been a number of inane exchanges throughout this series, but I think the one you just described is like top 5. Another top 5 is later in the episode. But yeah, I want to do away with Kimmie. Well, Jules is telling him, well, you need to lay low because you have other stuff going on and you're injured. Why don't we just kill 2 birds? Since Mallory wants her, why don't you let Mallory kill her? No. And then like you said, then finally he goes, well, Jules suggests, why don't I let you take Kimmie first and then give her to Mallory?
But Mallory, who's supposedly an intelligent woman, wouldn't she realize that Kimmie she's just doing a job? This is not some woman that he is having a passionate affair with. This
I think, yeah, Mallory would know that this woman is being forced to interact with her husband.
Uh-huh.
Although I don't know, because later on Mallory goes to the strip club. Although Mallory doesn't know that they're engaged in sex trafficking.
At the very least,
to be fair,
at the very least, though, this woman is getting paid. And that's it.
But ultimately, Roy's dumbass settles on, well, how about this? Why don't you let Mallory take her first and then bring her to me?
Jules, like, you really think there's going to be anything left?
What in the world was this exchange? Okay, then back in the hospital lobby, like you were saying, Jules sees Mallory and she's trying to break into, because she's taken Roy's phone, she's trying to break into his phone. And once again, we're back on this bullshit of who is she? Who is she?
Mm-hmm.
Since episode 3, has she been going on about this fervor in which she's trying to catch this woman? Your husband, you know he's cheating on you with probably multiple women
and
over the years.
You don't care about
Why are
him.
you fixated on this individual? So then while she's holding his phone that she can't break into, he gets a text message. And so you can read the, what do they call it? The sample of the message.
Yeah.
And it says like, basically come meet me for drinks at, or no, who was the text message from? I thought it said Kimmie and then it says like $5 shots, meet me at the club or something. I thought it was from Kimmie, but why would Kimmie be trying to lure Roy to the club?
I don't think she is, no.
I swore that was from Kimmie's phone. Either way, there's a callback to the previous episode when the gay brother Charles was trying to get Mallory to go to the strip club.
Mm-hmm.
So she calls Charles and says, hey, what was the name of that strip club you were trying to get me to? Did you know the name of the club is called Delinda's Dolls and Dudes?
Yeah, well, because Delinda's is on the wall in neon, so.
Oh, I didn't notice that.
Mm-hmm.
So this was the first time I realized that that's Delinda's club.
It is Delinda's. Well,
Delinda acts like...
Not anymore.
Well, yeah, now that she's dead.
Delinda's like...
Delinda dead.
Delinda dead. But I mean, she was kind of Ursula the Sea Witch-ish, but she never gave off like, I'm the big boss.
No, vibe. She seemed like the old lady who works at the strip club who just helps the girls get ready.
Right. Like I felt like she was, because Jules keeps calling her Delinda and Body his bottom bitches, but then wouldn't Delinda have higher standing than Jules?
Well, I mean, I'm so confused with the...
Who's on first?
What's the organizational chart of this racketeering shit that's happening?
Exactly. I think that there's some inefficient shit going on.
Rico calls Varney and says, wake up.
I did pick up my phone, sir.
I did pick up my phone and I'm talking to you. And he's like, no, I don't believe you. Well, I'm sitting up now. What? This writing. So then he basically... So my prediction, I think, is correct because Rico asks Varney, can you make sure there's a judge at my house tomorrow? Not a family, like not one of the judges our family knows, like someone no one knows, because I'm assuming he wants to marry Kimmie.
Which is...
So of course, Varney's like, yes, sir, I'll get it done. Can I talk to you about something? Yeah, what is it? Well, it's about your son. Which one? Roy. Okay, well, what about Roy? Well, he accused me of doing something. What did he accuse you of? Well, he thinks I'm having an affair with his wife, your daughter-in-law. And it's not true. And Rico goes, I know. Do you want to know how I know?
And Varney goes, because of my integrity?
Because of my integrity, and you know that your daughter-in-law wouldn't do something like that? And he goes, no. He says, even when you're not speaking, you're talking. Which I find that so ironic because that's how we feel about Tyler Perry.
Exactly. That's one of the authentic lines because, doesn't Janet have a similar line in For Colored Girls?
You're saying a whole lot without saying.
Yeah.
I think she says without saying nothing at all.
Yeah. So, but the Mr. Perry's telling on himself. It just dawned on me as we were talking about these people. It's kind of like the uber sleazy version of Jane Eyre. Like Kimmie is Jane and Rico Ross is playing a version of Rochester.
It's the Bronte sisters?
Yeah. Charlotte Bronte. Yeah. Just a thought.
She'd be so proud. Then there was the use of the N-word.
Oh my!
For a stretch seems so unnecessary and excessive.
Because Tyler doesn't know how to write people that are hard, and that is that is his way. Well,
I find it troubling that like he thinks that
it's not just
to demonstrate a certain sort of attitude or a certain type of person that it's just like litter the script with
foul language and racial epithets. Yeah.
Okay. But this scene incorporates Richard Lawson sitting in his Rolls Royce convertible with some man who I didn't recognize, who I thought was Akon for a minute.
Oh,
And
yeah, he kind of
didn't he look like him?
well, who is a staff member at Delinda's.
But have we met him before?
No, but we see him later this episode.
Oh, and I can't forget that we need to, there's someone else whose appearance we need to talk about, so I can't forget.
Okay.
But they're sitting outside in this, like outside of this warehouse, and somehow Richard has like surveillance.
Uh-huh.
Rest in peace, Gene Hackman, The Conversation. He's listening
or
in.
Enemy of the State, but yeah.
And he's listening in, and basically he surmises that, or I guess Richard discovers that Debbie Morgan set up the robbery against Rico.
Uh-huh.
So that's all we get from that scene.
Mm-hmm.
But we already knew that.
Uh-huh.
So what did that scene, like, what was the purpose of that scene?
Who's on first? Well,
Nothing.
It's displaying that now Richard Lawson knows about Debbie Morgan, who's doing that.
Like, okay, he already thinks that she's like, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Then we go back to the club, and then we just get a scene where Jules tells Truxton to find Kimmie. Okay.
Well, isn't that in the hotel lobby or the hospital lobby where they are talking very loud and out of turn, and there are a bunch of white people in that lobby? Why y'all being so loud?
Then Rico's in some hospital. I don't know where Rain is. Which hospital is Rain in?
She's in the same, that Stanley Hart one where they own the wing.
So they've just moved her around the same hospital?
She's stayed in the family wing.
But she's been in more than one room.
Well, they took her out of that. Well, I don't know.
I'm a little confused. But anyway, Rico is talking to Rain wherever the hell she is. And the main revelation from that scene is what we've been saying for episodes now. Rico's like, well, where do you... Because now Rico realizes that if he wants Kimmie, he needs to find her sister because she'll be there.
Keep in mind that Rain is also drifting in and out of consciousness, basically.
Right. I'm not hooked up to any fluids, so I don't know what they gave her. Mm-mm. But Rico says, well, where do you think her sister would be? Like, where would Kimmie go? And Rain's like, well, probably the club. That's where they take all the girls.
The people that took, yes.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yes. That's exactly right. That's what we've been saying this entire time, that Kimmie's been running around causing mayhem and confusion. Is that, bitch, why didn't you just go back to the place where it all started, where they take all you hoes? Like, I don't understand why this turned into a scenic tour of Chicago.
There's a clear hoe pipeline here.
So then Mallory makes her way to the club, and immediately we see a very large penis dangling in the air.
Yeah, but that was, I guess that was a surprise.
So Tyler gave us that.
Tyler's like, here's for all you people.
I would love to know how he directs scenes like that.
Well, how he directs them all, not very well.
Oh, God.
But more than ever, watching Mallory stomp around in here, it's like, oh, he's giving her Joan Crawford shoulders all the time. Have you noticed that?
But wasn't I saying earlier, I would love to see Mallory in something like not a Tyler Perry production, because I do think that she has something about her.
Yeah, she's
like, I would love to see her paired up with a better actress who's also like two women being vile towards each other, with like someone who wrote a better script.
Yes.
And better direction.
So anyone.
So everything better, but put her in it.
And then she tells Kelvin to bring her there, and Kelvin, like he does in every scene, like, you should, he gives her his 2 cents, and which she always has to be like, shut up, you're a driver, shut up, do what you're told. And he's like, okay. And she's like, aren't you a bodyguard? Then guard my body. Okay.
It's like he wants to be clever, but
then if he's about, then she makes him wait by Brian Tanaka at the door. So it's like, he ain't guarding much. I don't know.
So she goes and sits down with Charles, the gay brother, and Charles is so gross.
Yes.
And they're just sitting there in this club, and he has like a pile of $100 bills on the table.
Well, there's some fives in there too. So
why is he acting surprised that his brother had sex with another woman?
Well, in one of the ladies that works there. I mean,
I don't understand why Charles acted like, what? Really? My brother? Your brother's trash, and you know that. So then Mallory approaches Felicia, the one who had taken Sylvie into the club the last episode. And
Felicia has an attitude for somebody that's so afraid of what Body and Delinder might do to her.
well, yeah, because she's giving bottom bitch energy sometimes, but then sometimes she acts like she's
like she's frightened.
right.
But
Like,
she is stank. Okay. Like Mallory walks up to her and she's
real stank.
aren't you working for tips?
So this entire time, Kimmie is sitting outside of Delinda's Dolls and Dudes in that stolen 3 Series BMW. And she's just sitting there not paying attention to shit because all of a sudden Rico Ross just jumps in the car.
I wrote down, why is your car door unlocked?
First of all, well, it's not your car. Why is this stolen car you're sitting in unlocked?
But the funny thing is, right before that, Kimmie has Rain's cell phone. Rain is still making phone calls.
Listen, Rain stays on the phone. She stays on the phone. She actually calls Kimmie while Kimmie's sitting in that car, and it's so
the same
crazy.
Thing. Don't go in, girl.
Girl, don't do it. Don't do it. I'm not gonna do it. And then we've seen time and time again that Kimmie does the exact opposite of everything Rain is telling her.
Rain, call me back. You're not gonna call me back. I know you'll call. I'll call you. No, you won't.
There are people who I know are listening who know that, like, you can't tell me. I drop people like a hot potato if they are on their bullshit more than once or twice. Like, I can't.
Oh yeah,
I'll just stop talking to you.
Mm-hmm.
I can't do this. I don't understand why Rain is even worried about Kimmie at this point. She is crazy.
Didn't you just have surgery again?
Like, well, I'm confused because the last time we saw her, she had just come out of surgery and she was bright-eyed, bushy-tailed, and fine. Now she's acting like she got hit by a Mack truck. Mm-hmm. So did she get more surgery or
apparently, like what? I don't know.
Why is Rain in this condition right now? But yeah, so Rain stays on the phone talking to Kimmie. Then Rico gets in the car. Kimmie kind of freaks out. And then this scene was so crazy to me because Kimmie doesn't trust anyone. Rico's trying to help her. She doesn't believe that he can help her. Mm-hmm. But didn't Kimmie's dumbass think that Rico runs the shit?
Right.
So he's really your only chance right now because either he's for real, like if what he's saying is real, then this man is saying he can't help you and he wants to. Or if he's lying and he's really running this shit, then you're in trouble anyway.
Right.
So you might as well just go with what he's saying. But it's like she's so repetitive.
Okay. Also, her sister's a minor, right?
Yeah.
Why aren't we calling the police to say my sister has been drugged and sex trafficked and she's in this club right now? Get her out.
Okay, I also think that, but trying to give some grace, I'm assuming that the reason they're not doing that is like because if someone did say that to Kimmie, she'd say, well, Jules connected, he runs the police, there are police in the club. They're not gonna, I mean, can you imagine like Brian Tanaka and Truxton's American Bistro, they are Chicago PD.
Sure.
Imagine them working in a club where there are underage girls being sex trafficked. So they would probably try to cover it up just to protect themselves.
Sure.
I don't think that, I mean, I'm not trying to give this stupid series passes, but because I agree with you, it's like, if I were that desperate, I would just start by calling the police.
Mm-hmm. Or there are multiple. Not every person is in the Bellarie's pocket.
Because she could call them anonymously.
Yes,
she could just say like I'm calling from a payphone. I know that there's an underage girl in there named Sylvie. Blah blah blah.
Well, because it's also not the only illegal thing going on in this establishment based on the parking lot scenario.
Okay, let's move on to that. This parking lot sex buffet is outlandish. And I've been and done a lot of things. Mm-hmm. It's some sketchy things and all that kind of stuff. I have never seen anything like this. That's like so casual. There are people having sex parties in places, but it's like not just like anybody can pull up. And it's just in a parking lot.
Yeah. Find a spot. What do you want? We'll bring the trade out. I don't know. But
I mean, am I being naive? I've seen nastier shit, but I just I don't think that this would exist.
Especially not
like this.
Not at these prices. Horace has to pay $600 to get in there.
And then he says he wants someone young and fresh, and the guy goes, "Oh, well, that'll be another $1,000 if you want that."
And then he goes, "I only have 300. Well, give me that."
Give me that, and then lets him run in, and then they bring the girl out. So the the lot attendant takes all the money?
That makes no sense. Come on.
And then they're not vetting anyone.
No.
How do you know that I'm not an how do you know?
And also, but at this point, Horace knows about his brother's little fingers in this honeypot here. Say my last name. I ain't paying shit. Like,
okay, if I had to rewrite this component of the story, Delinda's Dolls and Dudes would be a high-end gentleman's club where they have to pay a membership and people are vetted, and you could create a lot of drama behind maybe blackmailing some of the members, like getting information about them so that if they ever try to pull a stunt, it's like, we got video of you having sex with a 16-year-old. So if you try to that would make sense to me.
Yeah, this is just...
But not I mean, Delinda's Dolls and Dudes looks like every trashy strip club you see.
This is way too lowbrow to be pulling
these kind of stunts this way. Okay. How hard would it be to find this girl in this club? Truxton's American Bistro and Brian Tanaka are running around like...
They're like, what? Keep an eye on
Where
Angel.
would we begin? Where would we even begin to look for her? This place is not that
And
big.
it shows them stomping around on the floor, and it's like, well, clearly she's not out there.
It would be like trying to find another person in a Chipotle. If you had access to the full store.
They're not seated. Where is the only other place? The bathroom or the storage closet?
The storage closet, the bathroom, or on the floor. Like, where else would she be? The dressing rooms are all wide open. Like, is she hiding? Did she stuff her ass in a locker? Like, where could she possibly be? Okay, so apparently the actor playing Debo commented on the video when we talked about him at first, saying, he goes, "I'm not that ugly, damn."
What did we say?
I don't think I called him ugly because I don't use that word. I might have referenced his appearance, and if I did, it's because...
What did I say?
I don't know what I said, but I
sorry, sir.
But we get a lot of Debo this episode because Richard finally catches his ass. But from what I recall, my comment was that character Debo is telling Truxton and Jules, like, well, I'll go with you, but I don't do any gay shit, basically. And then I made a comment like, I'm assuming, my problem with these kind of characters, like, it's always some straight guy trying to say, like, I don't do no gay shit. And it's like, but who do you, like, I think my reaction to that
Sir, don't worry.
Yeah, it's like, don't worry. Like, I can pull someone better looking without having to feel threatened.
I'm trying to rack my brain now because I do speak loosely sometimes, and I never want.
But we get even more FaceTime with Debo in this episode, and he's not unattractive. I wouldn't call him ugly, but
the character, though, again, like all of the characters here are so ridiculously written. You really can't fault the actors because it's since shit's bad.
Well, since this character is afraid of anyone thinking he's gay, then I'll just say I don't find him attractive. But I would say, like, talking about inane exchanges throughout this series, I will say that this exchange might be number 2. Number 1 is when Richard Lawson breaks into the conference room and is cursing everyone out. I think that's probably the most epic exchange of just nonsense. But number 2 is Richard goes to the motel that Kimmie stays in. So I don't know if, does Jules run that entire motel and that's why the girls stay there?
I don't know.
But not all the girls live there.
But Debo's being held there by 2 people.
So he's being held there by 2 people. Richard comes in with a briefcase. The 2 guys leave. And immediately Debo starts talking like, it was me, I'm sorry, blah, blah, blah. But then he calls Richard Jules. And that's where the conversation lost me. I don't know. This is one of the longer scenes in the episode. And I don't know what they were talking about.
I don't know.
Can you surmise anything from that conversation?
Well, they're like Norman is trying really hard to find out if Debo did in fact hit his wife.
Over his wife.
And Debo is talking in vague terms that don't not implicate him in this. And then it more like incredulously, Richard Lawson goes, so because Debo says he was lost and driving fast and he robs people. He goes, so you were lost on a private road? This goddamn private road shit. And then he opens the briefcase, of course, and has like a starter pack of torture devices. And it's like, and this poor man, Debo, has to sit there quaking in his boots. Like, please don't, sir.
I'm so confused with what Debo thinks he's doing. I also think he's is he pretending to be high?
Well,
because he seemed out of it, but then also he snapped out of it.
I cannot tell. I cannot fathom what the point of this is, because then because Jules said he killed Debo, and then Richard Lawson is surprised when Debo says Jules wouldn't kill me. He wouldn't try to do that.
Right. Okay. So I'm confused by that statement. I think that this, for reference, if anyone ever needs a clip to show how terrible of a script writer and director Tyler Perry is, I think this sequence demonstrates that very well. I just don't understand what you were trying to give us with this. Two of us were we were paying attention, knowing that we needed to talk about it, and we still don't understand what's happening.
Well, it's like sometimes these actors, to get through these passages of dialogue that aren't like things aren't syncing up. It's like when you have to learn something phonetically, and I have no idea what I'm saying.
I want people to know that we really do pay attention to these episodes in particular. Like, when we watch Tyler Perry stuff, we have to pay attention because it's always so confusing. Wait, did I just hear what I think I heard?
It's like it's like if you ever to take care of a sneaky child, and it's like, I know this kid is going to try some shit.
But I'm not lying, right?
No.
Whenever we watch a Tyler Perry thing, we have to rewind because it's like, wait, what? Didn't she say it was nighttime, but now it's daytime?
Well, because nothing adds up. Like, why the details don't add up. There are visual details in the background that are like, this is nonsense.
I'm always saying, did I miss something? This sequence between Norman and Debo, it was baffling to me. I don't know what these two were talking about. Then we go back to Delinda's, and Mallory gives Felicia $1,000 and tells her, tell me everything you know about Kimmie.
Okay, wait, but the lead up to that moment is, for some unfathomable reason, Mallory has decided that they have to take Charles with them. Why? So she makes Calvin.
Mallory says, well, I'm ready to go, and then tells Charles, let's go. Well, I'm not leaving. No, you need to go. Okay, well, I'm driving. Well, you can't drive because you're drunk. Okay, well, just make sure that you take my car home. I don't want someone to, because they'll steal it. Why? Yeah, why does Mallory care about Charles getting home safely?
So then they get this little gremlin stood up, and they walk through the crowd, and then she sees Felicia, and then she makes Calvin and Charles stand there while she quizzes Felicia and offers her this money, and then I'll give you $1,000 more, blah, blah, blah. And then Felicia goes, what do I get for a picture? Shows her a picture of Kimmie, and then Mallory's like, okay, bye, I'm good.
Okay, first of all, why does Felicia have a picture of Kimmie on deck? It wasn't like she was looking while Mallory was talking. She literally goes,
pull up her Instagram or something.
She pulls up her phone and immediately has a picture of Kimmie at the strip club in a bathing suit on a chair. Why do you have this lady's picture on deck?
Also, shouldn't Delinda's, what's it called, dudes and dolls and guys and girls, they should have don't they have an Instagram page that features who their dancers are?
I don't think this sort of establishment would do that.
Wouldn't that be okay?
Considering that most of those people there are being held under duress, but I don't think that would be a smart. If I were their counsel, I would not advise they set up Instagram.
I think somebody needs to do some fan arts. What would the Instagram page be for the?
Okay, but I want to. We have to mention one more time that Mallory walks up to Felicia, hands her $1,000, says, tell me everything you know about Kimmie. And then before that lady can even say anything, she goes, well, what will I get for a picture? Another 1,000. Shows her a picture. And Mallory just walks right out.
Yeah, but it's like, okay, you got these two men standing behind you, and you're gonna sit down for story time about Kimmie, But
also, don't you want to know more? You could have found out where she stays. Where I don't understand.
Meanwhile, the sun's coming up, and we can't forget that Julian, is it Gillian or Jillian?
I've been saying Julian.
Jillian is at Mallory's house keeping that bathwater warm. Don't you feel bad?
Still sitting in that that master bath.
It's stuck in my mind that she's there waiting with the hot bathwater. Jillian also gets a shout out because Roy complains about how Jules placed her in the office and Jillian became a slut.
Yeah, Roy is mad.
Yeah.
But I'm glad you brought that up because Roy makes it sound like he asked Jewel to like put a woman in the office that he could have sex with. But then she got out of hand.
But where? Everything is see-through glass. Where are they having sex in the office?
I'm confused with Roy's comment about Jillian.
You already have a hookup at the Josephine.
Okay, the pièce de raison. Say that phrase.
Pièce de résistance
is the end of the episode.
Oh yes. The name for the episode
Wild Ride because Rico. The plan is that Rico's going to go to the parking lot sex buffet
and ask for something young and fresh.
And ask. Okay. Let's start with this. Kimmie
like you're ordering
works there. She works there.
Yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So why aren't you setting this man up for success?
Mm-hmm.
Like when I was younger and worked at places where I had my friends come and steal stuff, like you tell them how to do it before they come in. You don't just let them show up and then you figure it out as you're doing it. So she just says, well, go get her.
Mm-hmm.
Just go back there. And so he goes back there, asks for someone young and fresh. They happen to bring out Sylvie.
They found Sylvie in the maintenance closet.
Felicia found her. They found her very easily after spending time running around like chickens with their heads cut off.
And keep in mind, Angel, when he went to go finally check for her, gets locked in.
He gets punched and locked in the closet
by Truxton.
Mm-hmm. Traxton. Now Felicia drags Sylvie out to Rico's truck. In a very non-tender way. Puts her in the truck, and then Rico's trying to convince her, I'm not going to hurt you.
Well, Rico to Felicia's like, is she all right? She's like, it's an act. She likes to pretend to be hurt. We know you old daddies like that. Like, right. Excuse me?
So Sylvie's just like, no, in the truck. So Rico calls Kimmie, gets her on speakerphone. Sylvie calms down, but then Kimmie's hype. Like, you got to get her out of there. Well, how? What was the plan? You work here. Why you work here? You've, I'm sure, been in the parking lot having sex with customers. What was the best mode of action?
Like, can't he just peel on out of there and drive through that dinky little fence?
Then she should have told. They should have had a plan. Well, we didn't have to hear the plan, but he needed to insinuate that, like, okay, we talked about this before I rolled up through the club. Mm-hmm. No, he's lost. So she goes, well, just start the engine. I'm going to bust through the gate. And this lady drives that car through the gate.
But where's her shotgun? She blew a hole into Delinda's head. Where is that shotgun, and why wouldn't you just?
Well, I'm sure when Truxton put her in his car to take her, he made sure she didn't have it.
Oh, sure, but
so I mean, she runs through the gate, and man, Tyler Perry cannot direct an action sequence because that shit looks so. First of all, there are cars being damaged, right? Mm-hmm. And so I'm sure they're trying to keep it cheap. So you have like this old BMW, you have this old Pontiac that she hits. Mm-hmm. All the cars in there are kind of cheap and old. But I would imagine that people, I mean, we live not too far from the host roll, and all the cars I see talking to the prostitutes are very nice cars. Mm-hmm. If people are dropping $600, $700, $800, $1,000, $900, whatever, you would think they have.
Yes,
these cars don't match what I think the clientele would.
The expendable income would have to match. Yes. Mm-hmm.
So of course there's chaos in the parking lot, but just in theory because it all looks very comical, like everyone's moving in slow motion.
Kimmie, you know what I was thinking? You know what the character Kimmie, she needed to be written like Lola Falana in Lady Coco. That is the moxie that this woman should have.
Instead, we get.
Instead, it's like she gets pulled out of her car by Jules, who drags her back into the club.
Well, before that happens, several cars are able to speed out. So then Rico sees that as his opportunity to drive out. So he does. Jules snatches her out of the car without her even putting up a fight. And then as he's dragging her up the stairs to go back into the club, she is whipping her hair back and forth like Willow Smith. But he's not doing anything. He's just literally like pushing her towards the door.
She looks like she's having a grand mal seizure.
You know what she looks like? That one video of that. It's like a Spanish language talk show where this clearly like gay or maybe trans person, like looks like a young guy, comes out to his family as being gay, and they start hitting him, and then he starts taking off his clothes and dancing. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yes, I haven't thought of that in a long time.
That's exactly what Kimmie looked like when Jules was dragging her back up into the club. And then the episode ends.
Yeah.
Well, so we only have 2 more episodes left. Jules has Kimmie, but we know that Daybreak is coming, and
Daybreak.
Janet Jackson has a song called Daybreak, but it was like a bonus track for Japan only.
I was thinking of what Kathleen Turner listening to Barry Manilow and Serial Mom.
So I'm assuming that Kimmie's going to be able to get out of there.
Of course. Well, I like it now that Netflix is like 2 episodes to go. Like, don't give up now.
I think there's going to be a part 3 because there's no way they're going to wrap up. What about the lawsuit? We have an entire like multi-billion-dollar class action lawsuit that could take down Bellarie, Beauty and Black. That's not going to be wrapped up.
Oh, that's the other thing. Felicia touches Mallory's hair.
She goes, I think reminds me of Pineapple Express. I think I know that bitch.
Yeah.
She goes, I think I recognize you. You're the perm lady. And then grabs.
She touches her hair.
I couldn't believe that.
No.
And then Mallory goes, don't do that.
And then some other man, Mallory is not, she looks like expensive. And some man comes up holding bills to her and she's like.
But he has the bills in his hand like he's trying to pay her. Like when you're at the farmer's market and you want to pay for your banana bread.
I was thinking if you ever go to like a pet zoo and you want to give corn to the sheep, like, and you hold your hand out. That's what he looked like.
Corn. Oh, when we were in Poland at the zoo, and we got lost at the zoo, and this poor baby giraffe thought it was feeding time.
The baby giraffe got very excited,
and we didn't have anything.
We didn't,
for it.
and we were trying to walk away because we were in an area we shouldn't be, and that baby giraffe followed us as far as they could.
Oh, anything else?
No.
Ta-ta.